Hello, Patriots. Welcome back to Powerhouse Tactical. This is the third and last installment of the three-part series about how we can prepare for the potentially upcoming disasters. This series was put together with the beginners in mind and not the folks who have been preparing for many years and already have much of the needs taken care of. And are looking for a couple of extra tips. For those of you who have been thinking about preparing for a while, or the recent events have caused you to start thinking about it, maybe you might feel that it's too late to start now. But you know what they say, better late than never. Also, beginning is half the battle. If you have not already done so, please go back and watch part 1 and part 2 of the series to get the full picture and to help you begin your preparations. Well, let's dive right into it then. FEMA and CDC has been asking the citizens to prepare for years. They have some minimum things to have in case of emergency on their website. I know I already talked about many of these in part 2 of this series, but let's recap and add a few more things. So water is very important, as we talked about in part 2 of this series, and FEMA actually recommends us to have 1 gallon of water per person per day, and a minimum of 3 days worth of water. So for a family of 4, you would actually need 12 gallons of water saved up. So with that said, obviously 3 days, what if the emergency goes on for a week? Obviously that's not going to be enough. So what I recommend, like I mentioned in part 2, is to have ways to filter water. Make your own water. Water is everywhere in nature. Rain, streams, lakes, even puddles. But are they drinkable? Well, we need to have the means to make them drinkable, such as filtering and also boiling to make them drinkable. So food. Food, minimum of 3 days supply of non-perishables. Again, I talked about this somewhat more in detail in part 2. Radio. So radio is very important because this may actually be the only way for you to communicate, get any kind of communication from the outside world. Cell phones, towers might be down, power grids may be down, and so on and so forth. So having a small radio like this that you can receive FM, AM, NOAA weather alerts, and it's, for example, this particular one has a battery that you could put in here right there. Also, it has a backup, the solar panel. So just by leaving it by the window or something like that, it'll charge itself. Now, another second backup, it has a hand crank where you could actually crank it to charge the battery. Now, this particular one also has a flashlight that is built in, as well as this little plug thingies, whatever you call it, to charge your phone or other small electronics with by obviously generating electricity with the hand crank. So it's a really good idea to have one of these in your preparations. Now, which leads me to the flashlight that's on the radio, as well as having multiple flashlights. Me personally, I don't think you can have too many flashlights. More flashlights, the better for me. There's tons of flashlights all around my house and in my car. So a flashlight like this, very sturdy. It does not have to cost you, hundreds of dollars. Just something sturdy, something you can rely on, and make sure that you swap out the battery on a regular basis to make sure that it has power when you actually need it. So a flashlight like this from Sabre actually has 2 purposes. I'll do a probably a review video sometime in the future, but this is by Saber Security Products. And this one actually is not just a flashlight, but also it serves as a stun gun. Stun gun. Wow, that's pretty loud. So something like this can be used in an emergency as well as in a self-defense situation. So I think whatever tool that you can prepare with that serves more than one purpose, I think is great. Now, first aid kits. We'll most likely do a review video on this too. This is a Powerhouse Tactical first aid kit that we developed. We've ran into so many first aid kits that only focuses on the convenient things like band-aids and things like that, Tylenol, aspirin, that are reasonably priced. But then if we want something that can handle more of a trauma and life-threatening type of emergencies, these $20, $30, $40 first aid kits usually don't take care of those. So we've put together a first aid kit that can handle most of the inconvenient conditions, as well as some of the more traumatic and life-threatening situations. So I'll do a review video sometime in the near future on that. So with the first aid kits out of the way, we'll talk about first aid kits more in detail in a little bit later in this video. So batteries. So you got these radios, flashlights, and all these electronics and whatnot, but without batteries, they're no good. So you gotta have batteries. Most batteries like Duracell or the Energizers and those type of name brand batteries will actually last. Has a shelf life of 10 to 12 years. So you can stock up on those and continue to use them for a good part of a decade without worrying about them going bad. Having whistles. It kind of sounds silly, but having a whistle is actually quite important, because if you are in a situation where you have to yell out for help, right? You have to call out for help. After just a short time of yelling like that, on top of your lungs, you can and you will lose your voice. So having a whistle to continuously send out signals for help can actually mean a difference between life and death. So having a whistle, it's like 10 cents, 15 cents. Get 15 of them on eBay for like $2 or $3, including shipping. So those are very cheap, but very helpful tool that you could have in your preparation supplies. A mask. Bunch of masks, surgical masks, N95 if you want more of a dust filter type of situation. But even a bandana like this, like I said, whatever that you can have more than one type of use out of an item, that's what I like. So bandanas have multiple uses, such as using it as a mask by tying it around you. And then you could just wet them and put them around your neck to keep yourself cool during hot weather, as well as use them as a sling or some sort of a makeshift tourniquet. All kinds of different uses could be achieved with a bandana. So having a bandana and other mask options would be recommended. Plastic sheets. When I say plastic sheets, it could be really any kind of plastic sheets, but something that is thicker, like a garden, trash bags for gardening. Those are pretty thick. You can use them for so many things. Garbage bags. I mean, there are really great videos out there on the YouTube land about what you can do with trash bags. You could make flotation devices. You could make ponchos out of it. You could even make a makeshift lean-to shelter. If you are bugged in and the sewer system and things like that aren't working out, you're going to need something like that to discard any type of waste matter, like, toilet. So definitely garbage bags and tarps and things like that. Also black garbage bag are great light blocks, so you could use that to cover your windows, so that people cannot see the lights at night that's coming out of your house, and things like that. So plastic sheets, garbage bags, and tarp, and any type of plastic sheets, more the better. Duct tape. Duct tape has million uses. As most of you out there know, duct tapes will fix really anything. Duct tapes used with the plastic sheets could make your windows and doorways and things like that, seal them off so that no smoke or things like that can get into your house, tear gas, whatever. Duct tape could fix broken things temporarily, hold things up. I mean, all kinds of different things. Duct tapes, and they're pretty economical. So every time you go to a Home Depot or a grocery store type of places, just pick one up. Every other time you go to a grocery store, pick up a duct tape. It wouldn't hurt. Moist towelettes. So baby wipes is what I personally use to store for my prepping needs. Moist towelettes, baby wipes, they are great. They got 1,000 uses. If water is scarce, you can use them to clean yourself and conserve water for drinking and cooking. And it is important, even under a disastrous type of situations, it is important to keep your hygiene clean. So keep up your hygiene needs. So because that will keep you from getting sick, right? If you're not clean, higher chance of you getting sick. And in a disaster situation, if you get sick, who are you gonna go to? What doctor? What hospital? Right? So having a bunch of baby wipes or moist towelettes, that's also a highly recommended item. Wrench. This one, a lot of people kind of tend to fail to remember this one. Having a wrench, making sure that you have a wrench for utility pipes to shut them off. So like gas pipes. So if your next door neighbor, there's a big fire going, multiple homes are burning and things like that, you might want to shut off your gas pipe from the outside even, if you can, in order to make sure that there's no gas leaks or explosions, at least for your home. If you're able, you can even help your neighbor to shut off their gas, and so on and so forth. So having a means to shut off some of these utility pipes could come in handy. Can opener. So many of us, including myself, at my house, we have those electric can openers, right? But obviously, during a blackout, we wouldn't be able to use that. So what good is it if we have 1,000 canned beans? We couldn't eat any of them because if we didn't have the manual can openers. So make sure that you have a couple of different ways that you can open cans with that does not require electricity. Having a map. Having a map is another thing that a lot of people underestimate. Even if you know your neighborhood and whatnot, most people really are super familiar with the routes that they take on a daily basis, but they don't really know the ins and outs of small streets here and there, even in their town. So having a good detailed map of your area may actually help you if you are ever in need of trying to get out of your area, leave your area, but the main streets that you're familiar with is either jammed up or blocked, or destroyed, or whatever the case, a map, a simple, I mean not simple, but detailed, a paper map would actually help you in that kind of scenario to be able to figure out an alternate route. Cell phones. When I say cell phones, what I mean is cell phones with ways to recharge them, having backup batteries, proper cables that fit your cell phone, having something like this where you could hand crank to generate power and able to charge your phone is something that will be recommended. Now, in addition to that list, the following are some of the more optional things to help you through the disaster and make things a bit easier. So remember, when I say disaster, I don't always mean just like the zombie apocalypse or just the riots and civil unrest and all kinds of crazy things like that. Depending on the area of the country you live in, a disaster can be a flood, earthquake, brush fire, as well as certain extreme cases of course, civil unrest and looting as well. So in that case, face coverings, like I said about the masks earlier, having some sort of a face covering definitely helps. Soap, hand sanitizer, disinfectants to keep yourself clean and germ minimizing your exposure and also carrying of germs would be very helpful. Prescription medications. This is something that I religiously do. My family don't really have too many prescription needs, but a couple of us do, and we worked it out with our doctor so that we always have. So when we get our prescription, we are taking medication from that particular medicine bottle, right? But we always have 1 month backup bottle. See, so when we're taking one, we have one backup bottle. When we're running out of this one, when we run out of this one, we move on to this, but then we get a refill on this old one, so that one we had as a backup, that's the one now we're taking, and then we have a new bottle as a backup. So we're always a month arrear, so that if anything happens, we know that at least for 1 month we have enough prescription medicine for each and every one of our family's needs. So prescription medicine, that's a very important one. Baby formula, if you have babies, obviously you're going to need this. Have a couple of cans of the baby formula saved up. Just like canned goods and any type of prepping food supplies, you're always going to take the next thing you're going to consume from the front of the row, and whatever you purchase as new will go to the back of the row, so that you're always taking the older one out to consume and new ones get refilled into the bag. Pet supplies. A lot of people also forget about this. Pet foods and also water. So when you're saving water, storing water for your family's needs, a gallon per person per day, you know, that whole formula. A lot of people forget about the water that your pet's going to drink. So make sure to account for that, as well as food items. If you have pets, multiple pets, be sure to prepare for them as well. Most of us consider our pets as part of our family, so it should be our responsibility to prepare for them as well. Cash. We live in an age where everything is done electronically, and even when we physically go to a store, we have that debit card, credit card. We just swipe or insert into the slot, and it reads that chip. The thing is, if grid ever went down, those cards are going to be useless. Credit card machines, if they are not they're not getting powered, they're not working, which means nobody can use any credit card type of things to create transactions. So in that kind of scenario, you will need some cash. So depending on the area you live in, depending on your needs, obviously amount of cash you're gonna reserve will have to be your personal decision. But anywhere from a couple of $100s to a couple $1,000, you will want to save some form of physical currency, even fiat. Some people obviously will prep with precious metal such as gold or silver coins and whatnot. Obviously, more power to you. But as a minimum, for beginning preppers, start with a couple of $100 in smaller denominations. Don't just have two $100 bills and expect to be able to use them. Have fives, have tens, have 20s, some singles. Have them so that you could use them in case of a grid down situations. Documents. So what I do is I have all the copies of birth certificates, IDs, and insurance policies, and all these type of important documents that I may need, after a disaster in order to rebuild. Right? If my house burnt down, I'm going to need all those insurance policies and whatnot, so that I could be covered and compensated, and try to rebuild my life and life of my family. So having that as a paper form, number one, very important. But I go one step further. I scan them, and instead of saving them on like a cloud, the web hard drive, I actually use a small USB drive, which I have them in my emergency bag that I could, carry if I ever have to, step out of the house, because, if the house is on fire, I need to get out with my family. Well, I can grab that bag, and all those documents will be on that USB drive in that bag. Sleeping bags. So having some sleeping bags, blankets. I mentioned wool blankets in part 2 of the series. Those are great options. Having some sleeping bags will not be a bad idea. Change of clothing. Make sure you have a good change of clothing, packed up in a small bag for each member of your family. Like I said, just in case you have to leave your house, even for a temporary period of time. If it floods or something like that, if roof caves in because of a tornado, whatever, you might have to go and stay at a motel for a week until insurance check starts to arrive. Well, during that time, you're going to need some change of clothing. So make sure that you have some of that stuff stored and ready. Fire extinguishers. A lot of people fail to have fire extinguishers in their homes. Very surprising. Most businesses are required by the local government code to have fire extinguishers, certain number of fire extinguishers, the size, the location of fire extinguishers, depending on the area that you're in. Most businesses will have those taken care of, but homes, a lot of places actually will fail to meet the minimum needs in case of fire. So make sure that you have fire extinguishers. Also, speaking of fire extinguishers, make sure that you have means to start fire, such as matches. Whenever I go to Home Depot, Menards type of places, every time I go, I'm gonna pick up a lighter or 3, or pack of 5 for like $3.99. Just have a bunch of them. Just a lot of preppers focus on learning how to start fire by rubbing 2 sticks together and all that. That's also very important skill to have, very important survival skill to have. But why expend more energy to start fire, especially when you're short on food and water and things like that, when you could just have like 5 or 10 big lighters that throughout your bags and in your car and things like that you could easily start fires with. Do they last forever? No. So have those skills, practice those skills while you're not in an emergency. But when you're in an emergency, try to use the methods that are easiest and also the one that consumes least amount of energy. So have some lighters, have some matches. Waterproof matches are great, and there are so many different options that you can use for things like that. Feminine supplies, such as the pads and tampons and things like that. Those actually have more than one use. Many of you may not expect that, but other than the obvious use of being used for the feminine needs, those are very absorbent, obviously, especially formulated to absorb massive amount of blood depending on the size. So actually these feminine pads, this is straight out of my emergency bag. Do I need it? No. I guess it's for my car emergency bag. I have a few of these in there. If I'm at a place where we can't get to a drugstore real quick, but then my wife all of a sudden starts to have the need for it and she forgot to have one, well, she knows that I have one. But other than that need, for a certain type of massive hemorrhaging, so massive bleeding type of wound, such as gunshot wound, knife stabbing, things like that, this will come in extremely handy to be used as part of your compression kit, used in conjunction with things like Israeli Band-Aid and tourniquets and things like that. Feminine pads actually will come in very much in handy, and also it's very economical compared to other medical supplies. Mess kits like plates, forks, knives, spoons, in your preparation bag or kit, that would be great. Paper and pencil. Make sure you have paper and pencil. Pens run out of ink, they smudge, all kinds of stuff. They bleed. Having a pencil and paper so that you could jot things down to remember certain locations, certain situations. You could leave a message for someone in agreed down type of situations where you can't text others anymore. Having paper and pencil, even when they get wet, because you wrote it with pencil, it's going to be fine. Another thing a lot of people often fail to remember and think about are how you would spend the time. So books, games, puzzles, activities for children. Those will keep your morale up and help you pass the time. So let's talk about the first aid kit. Many of us go to a pharmacy or Walmart type stores to purchase pre-made first aid kits. Throw one in the closet and think that will keep your family safe if anything does happen. We need to know that the kit actually does, and what the kit does and what it is for. Not all first aid kits are just do it all type of kits. Actually, in fact, none of them are. So each first aid kit, you need to analyze them, review them, study them, so that you know what your first aid kit will take care of and what things your first aid kit cannot take care of. We could categorize items in two distinct groups depending on what they are for. So injuries can be separated into two types. So one is a very inconvenient injury, such as like a paper cut and things like that. And then there are life-threatening ones, So a paper cut can be quite painful. And until it heals, it can be also very bothersome when you're trying to use your hands to do things. A Band-Aid in that case can be quite helpful. Once you cover that paper cut up with a Band-Aid, it no longer rubs on other things. It will help it heal faster, cleaner, and reduce a chance of infection. So if you don't take care of it, depending on the environment, a simple paper cut or small scratches and things like that could become infected and become something more serious. Um, Many head injuries also, like falling and hitting your head on something sharp, but as long as the cut is not deep, it may look very serious, but in many cases it's not life-threatening. So head injuries are usually very distracting injuries in some of the first aid EMS will refer to it as a distracting injury. So head injury, it's got a lot of capillaries going, so a lot of bleeding could be caused, but most of the time it won't be life-threatening. Whereas a broken pelvis, with no external bleeding, can be quite life-threatening. To learn how to properly identify injuries to provide proper treatment, I highly recommend taking a first aid CPR class provided by American Red Cross or American Heart Association in your local area. Of course, for those of you who are in the Chicagoland area, contact us at Powerhouse Tactical for our first aid CPR course. We have specifically designed our classes to provide all of the American Red Cross certification requirements, as well as adding trauma care portion to treat extreme injuries like gunshot wounds and knife stabbings. The needs of inconvenient injuries should be met just with the items you can find in a simple store-bought first aid kit. Things like band-aids and gauze will take care of most of these types of injuries, beginning with cleaning the injury to dressing them. Most things you'll need will be included in these kits. Adding a cheap bottle of saline solution like this for cleaning your contact lens can also add a significant function to your kit. These saline solutions can be used to clean wounds before treating them and dressing them. So something like this, very low cost, and has multiple uses. Another thing in my prep supply that has multiple uses. Those are my favorites. An ice pack, anti-itch cream, bug spray, burn cream, iodine wipes, and many items like that can be added to make your first aid kit to be more complete to treat these types of inconvenient injuries. But you have to remember that this is for convenience and petty injuries that are not for life-threatening injuries. This type of first aid kits are created and designed to make our lives a bit easier and more comfortable. It isn't designed to save lives. Now let's explore more serious components that would make life-saving first aid kits. There are more serious and potentially life-threatening injuries that regular first aid kits just cannot handle. So like fractured bones, massive hemorrhaging, heart attack, stroke, dehydration, hypothermia, and so on and so forth. So there are a few items that you can add and begin to make your first aid kit to be more complete and able to start treating potentially life-threatening injuries. Adding a simple thing like a splint to treat broken bones, a tourniquet to temporarily control bleeding, and a CPR face mask or face cover to protect yourself and the patient during the CPR procedure. So a tourniquet like this, cap tourniquet is what they're called. Don't just go to eBay and type tourniquet and just buy them. Some of them are just a rubber band that you can tie around, which does not do what these do. So These are called cat tourniquets, where it's got a little stick that you could use to tighten them up. It's very sturdy. There is an area where you could write down what time you put the tourniquet on for when the EMS arrives and things like that. Also, a trauma bandage, also known as Israeli bandage. These will also help you treat more traumatic and potentially life-threatening situations. Again, when I do my Powerhouse Tactical first aid kit review, I'll also review them as well. So there are some quick and unexpected items that can help make your first aid kit more complete. Like I said, having a bottle of contact lens cleaning saline solution would help with the washing of wounds before treating. Make sure that the saline solution is nothing fancy, has a lot of different ingredients in it. Just a pure saline solution will do. Those will be extremely low cost and very simple, and you should be able to wash most wounds with it, including some kind of chemical getting into your eye and things like that. And don't forget to put a few feminine pads in your kit, as I said. Having a fire extinguisher in and around your home is important, even when you don't consider the SHTF type of situation. Having a full-size unit or two in the house, one for the garage or a workshop, smaller and lighter version in your kitchen, as well as one in each of your cars, is something that more people should understand the importance of. Even if you're not considering the disastrous, SHTF type of situation, this is something that everyone should be doing. And don't forget to check the batteries on your smoke detectors throughout the home on a regular basis. With supplies of water, food, shelter, air filters, and means to treat injuries all prepared, one must consider how your supplies and the people who the supplies are for will be protected. Many of us in this matter will naturally think of firearms. As we've seen in 1992 Los Angeles riots, with a group of Korean Americans in the city arming themselves legally and protecting their lives and their property, firearms had definitely done the job. Of course, anyone who prepared to defend themselves and their families with firearms should realize that it is very important and their responsibility to not only have firearms, not only have enough ammunition, but train properly and diligently. Many patriots say often, guns don't kill people, people kill people, right? Well, same goes for the other way as well. Guns don't protect people, people protect people. And if you don't have kept up your skills on how to use firearm properly, I don't really care if you have served in the military for 5 years, in the past. These are a learned muscle memory type of skills. So if you don't use it, you lose it. If you haven't done it in 10 years, you most likely won't be able to do it effectively as you think you can. So become not only familiar with firearms, but become proficient with them. And to do so, you must train, and train some more. Now, however, with the importance of firearms and the effectiveness of firearms, not all confrontation can or even should be solved with a use of firearms. I do believe in the inherent value of human life as our Creator has made all of us and love us equally. I know it may come as a surprise, but God loves even the rioters and the people who mean to do us harm. We're not here trying to become killers. We're preparers. We're protectors. We're defenders. We value all human lives. With that said, we cannot go from exchanging harsh language with others, then jump straight into exchanging hard bullets. There must be something in between harsh words and, bullets flying. There has to be something in between. If this, there must be something in between, as long as the situation allows to do so. What if the other side isn't armed with a deadly weapon? Can we justify our use of firearms? I hear some people utter phrases like, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. I publicly and categorically denounce that statement. We, as patriots and as people of faith, must exhaust any and all means to not end any human life. Our reason for not killing someone shouldn't be because it's illegal. We must differentiate ourselves from others by thinking in terms of right and wrong, not researching the local laws to see what we could legally get away with. Which brings us to pepper sprays, electronic stun guns, and other less lethal defense options that are available out there. Just note that not all of these products are created equal, and they will automatically protect you. Even these things you need to practice and train with. We at Powerhouse Tactical have found Saber Red products, Saber defensive products to meet the requirements that we consider essential. In fact, this company supplies to most of our law enforcement and security firms in and around the U.S. I have added a link to this product below for you to check them out. Bottom line is that in order to protect ourselves physically, firearms might, be all we need. But in order to protect ourselves legally, as well as morally, it is a prudent idea to prepare some effective, non-lethal options. There are so much more items and skills that a prepper can explore and accumulate. It really isn't something you can ever be complete with. This is more of a lifestyle and provides a more economical and efficient way to live for the people who live this type of lifestyle, while providing a certain level of, the peace of mind. I know many of you out there have long been interested in prepping, but just have been overwhelmed with the idea of where to start. How much is it going to cost? The cost of prepping seems too high. Well, don't let those things discourage you or prevent you from starting today. A $20 per paycheck prep may be all you can afford. In fact, one of my favorite channels that I watch often, Alaskan Prepper, he has a series called a payday prepping. So he'll take a $20, $30, sometimes $50 out of each of his paycheck, and he'll go and pick up a few things for his prepping storage. So do something like that. Do something. Doing something little is better than doing nothing at all. I really hope that this series has given you some ideas and most importantly, the motivation to finally begin preparing for you and your family. I plan to bring you some more ideas for the novice and the beginner preppers in the future videos. So please mention some questions and comments below. I'll do my best to incorporate them in my future videos. Hey, thank you, Patriots, so much for joining me once again in this 3-video series about prepping for the upcoming few months. I pray that the dreaded disaster never comes, but I feel a little better knowing my family will be better prepared, as well as yours, than most people out there. I hope this series helped you to do that as well. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel for support. Until our next video, please stay safe, be prepared, protect, and pray. God bless all of you Patriots out there, and God bless America. This is Daniel Lee, at Powerhouse Tactical.